Neverwinter Nights 2 is a game that divides CRPG fans. Whether or not it's a good game is entirely subjective, but the fact is that it was absolutely butchered to ship on Halloween 2006. Luckily, many traces of cut content remain in the game files, and it's clear that Neverwinter Nights 2 was meant to be much bigger than it is. So, in this video, I'll talk about deleted modules, locations, and quests. Would they have made the game a classic? Let's find out. I think the best place to start, and to show the extent of the cuts, is the so-called Hollows, which was supposed to be the first stronghold we would command in the original campaign. Stronghold is perhaps too big a word because it was a building in the Neverwinter docks, but the idea was the same: run an operation, recruit agents, carry out missions. We would assume command in the Act 1 and potentially recruit most of the NPCs that run the Crossroad Keep in the final game. Just like with the Keep, we would have Master Vale rebuild and upgrade the Hollows in a quest called A Hollow Beginning. According to the script I found, we could also recruit Ammon, an alchemist I'll talk about later, Adario, Jacobi, Catriona, Pentin, Uncas, and Wolf. The Hollows was also connected to the faction we sided with, but there is no evidence of any big differences between the two. The journal entry of a cut quest The Price of Loyalty mentions how both Marshal Carmick and Axel tell you to recruit Kana as your adjutant. The quest would also shed some light on her past. Apparently, she is an ex-City Watch officer and the mentor of Marshal Carmick. She also used to indirectly work for the Night Masks, a criminal organization in Westgate, and we were supposed to help her cut those ties to get her on board. And apparently she was a bit of a bad girl too, since we would recruit her in the Moonstone Mask. You know, the brothel in the Merchant District. A piece of dialogue connected to Kana in the Hollows is still left in the final game actually. If you've done all the quests for the City Watch and talked several times to Captain Merdelain, she'll say that, quote, "The dogs are quiet since your help, Lieutenant, and Kana has done an admirable job of keeping it that way." Excuse me, Captain, who? Dear butchers at Obsidian, you had one job. Anyway, at some point the Hollows would be attacked by the Luskans in retaliation for us raiding their ship, Sea Ghost. In the cut quest called Loose Ends, Kana would find their base of operations in the Neverwinter docks, which we would then destroy. The journal entry mentions that their leader, Ahja, was not there, which suggests that the Luskans in the dock subplot was also slaughtered big time. In the final game, it's just a tiny 15-minute quest, where we kill them all when they come ashore, and Ahja in his dying moments conveniently spills his guts. Figuratively and literally. However, it wasn't lazy writing, but filling the gaps. I found cut dialogue of Blackgarius informing Torio and Lorne, his agents in Neverwinter, that he dispatched Ahja to hunt down our party. In the final game, the cutscene is still there, but Garius only mentions sending reinforcements. And those are the crew of Sea Ghost led by Ahja that we feed to the fish. But the Luskan subplot was even bigger than that, and a good chunk of it took place in a deleted module, the Neverwinter Wood. Now, in case you're unfamiliar with the Electron engine, the campaign of Neverwinter Nights 2 is divided into 18 modules, each containing several areas. The modules are numbered, and it appears a bunch of them are missing. In Act 1, there are 2 missing modules between 1300 Old Owl Well and 1600 Githyanki Caves. I suspect one of them was the Hollows and the other was the Neverwinter Wood. The module will come up a couple more times in this video, so it's not just a gut feeling of mine. I found a journal entry of a quest called, well, Neverwinter Wood, in which Axel would have us find the druids of the Neverwinter Wood. This was probably a faction quest similar to that at Old Owl Well, so the City Watch would likely give us the same task. Of course, the butchers at Obsidian didn't cover their tracks very well. They left mentions of the Circle of the Sword in the game, but the subplot doesn't go anywhere past the Sky Mirror talk to Elder Naevan. But you'll never guess who would be behind the troubles in the Neverwinter Wood. The Luskans, I believe. There was a cutscene in which Torio reports to Blackgarius about something called the Heart of the Wood. Whatever it was, it had something to do with the ritual that happens at the Crossroad Keep in Act 2. Let's hear it.
Torio, I trust your mission was a success. Have you brought the Heart of the Wood?
My lord, there were, difficulties.
Difficulties? Even after all we have gone through to prepare this ritual, you are brave to return, Torio. Your failure means I will have to beseech the king for another way to complete the ritual, and of course there will be a price. Perhaps I should send you to him, Torio, and you can serve as messenger. You have such a way with words after all.
My Lord Garius, forgive me. It shall not happen again, I swear upon my life.
In that, Torio, you are correct. Pray you do not disappoint me again.
A common villager outmaneuvered you, Torio? So, it seems I have lived to finally see you humbled.
Watch your tongue, Lorne. He won't stop me a second time.
You forget your place. We are but Garius's tools, and our master has no need for tools that serve no purpose.
Interestingly, it appears there was an alternate version of the cutscene in which Torio was successful. Here it is.
And what of its condition?
It is unspoiled and every bit as potent as you surmised. Its part in the ritual will be considerable.
You see, Lorne, I told you she had it well in hand. Seems she's not such a... what was it? Backstabbing spider, after all.
I am certain our dear Lorne meant no disrespect, Garius.
Torio, you have done a great service to your master. I shall see to it that the king learns of your role in this.
You are generous, my lord. I thank you.
You are excused, Torio.
Of course, my lord.
Much good may it do her, should she fail in any other part of the preparation.
Much good may it do any of us.
It's really interesting seeing how painfully linear the final game is. Concurrently, it's almost fascinating to see how diluted Obsidian was. All the cut content I've talked about thus far would happen in Act 1, which is already the biggest act in the game. But there's more. Another place that was cut from the game is Helm's Hold, a small town between Neverwinter and the Neverwinter Wood. It was also present in the original Neverwinter Nights. While I found no evidence in the game files, Obsidian did publish a concept art showing Helm's Hold back in the day. The town is also visible on a world map that was posted online before release. And finally, you can find previous screenshots that seem to show the very same location from the concept art in-game. But Obsidian's delusions did not stop there for Act 1. I found traces of several smaller side quests too. I'm not going to go too crazy with details here because it's pretty much filler content. In the Neverwinter docks, we could do some shady business for Ankes, who in the final version of the game only appears at the Crossroad Keep. One quest, the Adventurer's Heist, was similar to Nishka's break-in quest to steal Leldon's lucky coin. In another quest, River Dweller's Problem, we were supposed to get rid of a very persistent City Watch sergeant investigating Ankes by ordering him off the case. If we succeeded, Ankes would offer to work for us at the Hollows in exchange for keeping the watch off his back. So, corruption, yay. At the Hollows in Act 1, we could also hire Jacoby, the blacksmith from Fort Locke, and Penton, the miner from Old Owl Well. That's why we can find 3 iron ore deposits in Old Owl Well, but can't do anything with it until Act 2. It's like, what do you want me to do, game? Scrape the iron off the wall or something? Anyway, Jacoby would give us 2 quests, find some ore and Jared Widowmaker. In the former, he would forge us a masterwork weapon. In the latter, we would kill a local bandit and get Jacoby to work for us at the Hollows. As for Penton, I found some cut dialogue where he does some shady stuff at the Hollows and tries to bribe the Shardbearer and Kana. The wording suggests we can even report him for that to Captain Berlena. Precious metals played a role in 2 more quests. In Quicksilver Delivery, we were supposed to get Quicksilver for Aldanon so that he would let us into his house. In this case, I like to think this was cut due to story pacing. I would go effing ballistic if I suffered another slowdown after finally getting my shard-bearing ass to the Black Lake district. Curiously, the other quest, Adamantine for Simi, was deleted in one of the patches. We were supposed to look for adamantine ore in Old Owl Well, but apparently it was broken and thus removed. Okay, believe it or not, but everything up to this point is Act 1 content, and we're not even done yet with Act 1. I'm already working on the second part of this retrospective, or maybe it's already up, depending on when you watch this. Anyway, it seems that in some earlier version of the script, Melia Sorel, an agent of the Neverwinter 9 that worked undercover as a Moonstone Mask girl, was a spy and possibly a real Moonstone Mask girl. According to her, she was being used by different parties because she needed money for her family. It's difficult to tell from the dialogue file, but it seems like she assassinated Lord Taverick in this version of the quest. It's very probable she was hired by the Luskans too. If we wanted, we could have convinced her to work for us at the Hollows and keep her crime a secret. Speaking of strongholds yet again, let's move to the Crossroad Keep as there was a lot of content pulled from it as well. Multiple recruits, for example. We were supposed to be able to get an alchemist named Aramin, 2 other farmers beside Orlen, a halfling Tenra Tasselmoss and a Ruathnum refugee Iriana, another dancer Tila for the Phoenix Tail Inn, a self-righteous druid from the Neverwinter Wood, and a very versatile dwarven sergeant from the clan Iron Fist, Ulfang. Apparently, we would also be reunited with the survivors of the Shadow Reavers attack on West Harbor, the village where the game starts. Georg, the militia's commander, would make it to the Crossroad Keep and ask us to look for other harbormen. He would tell us how the Shardbearer's foster father, Dagon, warned everyone right before the attack. According to the cut dialogue, we would have been able to find the Mossfeld brothers, Brother Mering and the children, Tarmas and Orlen. Retta Starling, Bevel's mother, would still be killed though. Brother Mering would also mention that most harbormen, presumably unnamed ones, managed to flee thanks to the timely warning. He then suggests that Wolf, the leader of the children gang, can help us rally them. This was likely connected to Georg's plan to retake and rebuild West Harbor once the mayor was free from the shadow threat. So, the good ending, where West Harbor is rebuilt, is surely connected to this removed subplot because it doesn't make sense in the final game. What, am I supposed to believe that 4 harbormen were like, yeah, let's repopulate the place? It's been already a week since our neighbors and loved ones were killed and turned into undead. Speaking of West Harbor, let's leave the Crossroad Keep for a second because a lot more stuff was cut from the Knight Captain's home village. In the original campaign, it is left ambiguous whether Ammon destroyed it in Act 2. However, in an earlier version of the script, we could return to West Harbor still intact after Ammon's visit. When asked if anything strange happened lately, several harbormen would mention having weird dreams that night and smelling smoke, ash, and fire in the air. They were also convinced that something strange passed through the village. Most notably, Georg would say that he stayed up late that night and suddenly was out. He then woke up on the floor because he thought he could smell fire and ash.
Nothing out of the ordinary. Had a strange dream the other night, but beyond that, no attacks or anything. Yes, it hit me all at once. I was staying up, prepping for a late hunt into the swamp, and well, suddenly I was passed out on the floor. I woke up real sudden because I thought I smelled smoke, but nothing. I must have dreamed it. Strange kind of smoke, too. Not peat smoke, more like, well, metallic smoke. Strange. Demons and shadows? Oh, come now. No need for tales. Sure, there's some strangeness going on, but that's a little far. Even for you. Although, the crickets seem to have gone silent in the area as of late. But that doesn't mean much. But there were the singed crops, and the strangeness with that scar in the earth. Yes, any small thing that crosses it, well, they just up and die, right there. It's like a little grave, waiting to be filled. Retta and some of the children were the first to notice it. All the wild talk of demons aside, there's something going on. Just don't know what.
Tarmas, in turn, the resident mage, would say that he normally has problems sleeping, but he was sound asleep that night. This, I think, suggests that Ammon put everyone in some magical sleep while he and his demonic retinue searched the village.
No more attacks, that is for certain. Things have been quiet, but there has been a strange feeling in the air. Well, I noticed it the other night. I have some difficulty sleeping, but not the other night. And while I slept, my dreams were troubled. There was a smell of fire and ash, and when I awoke, it was as if I could almost hear swords clashing, but as if from a great distance. Yes, it is almost as if something passed through the village and left a faint trace behind. After you passed through here, I spoke to some of the others, and they cited some strange events as well. Some of the outlying crops withered, and although there were no signs of a fire, the tips of the harvest were burned, as if a flame had passed too close to them. And the children mentioned that the scar within the village, any animal that passes through there, whether rat or bird, simply dies.
Scar?
I'm sorry?
You spoke of a scar in the village. Has the village been wounded?
No. It's a burn in the earth. Been there since the war. It's never had the effect on the wildlife it has now, however. There is something stirring in the mare, and something came to the village because of it. But if you encounter demons near West Harbor, then what we have seen may have much to do with their presence.
Other than that, there is a piece of cut dialogue with Ammon in which we could ask him if he destroyed West Harbor. He would claim he only passed through the village on his way to the Ilfarn ruins in the swamp, and specifically ordered his minions to do no harm. Finally, Retta Starling sleepwalked that night. In her dream, she saw the scar in the village, that big black burn in the earth by the wheat fields, burning. As she described it, it was as if Shadow and Flame were struggling over it, as if fighting. When she woke up, she was standing by that wound in the ground. Okay, back to the Crossroad Keep and recruits. Unlike in the final game, Naevan, the Elder of the Circle of the Mare, could also be recruited to help us fight against the King of Shadows. In his case, we could build something called the Garden Conservatory for him, which apparently was a park that the elven NPCs would enjoy very much. We could also build something referred to as the Druid Shop. Speaking of trees and elves, another piece of evidence that the Neverwinter Wood was to be present in the game is a cut quest given to us by some important guy from the Circle of the Swords. He would tell us about the agents of Blackgarius who stole an important relic. He probably refers to the Heart of the Wood I mentioned earlier, because he mentions it was related to the ritual we disrupted. So he basically tells us to murder a man named Ragern who is hiding somewhere in Luskan. Yep, Luskan was also cut from the game, it seems. I actually found a trace that there was probably a separate module for it, 3200 Luskan. But if you're still not convinced that the Neverwinter Wood was to be strongly present in the game, there's another cut quest in it, Justice's Arm. It would have probably be only given to paladins and good clerics who built the Temple of Tyr. Ivar the Blessed would tell us of a traitor by the name of Lord Granfen, who allegedly opened one of the gates of Neverwinter when it was attacked by Luskan 2 years earlier. According to Ivar, Lord Granfen was hiding in, you guessed it, the Neverwinter Wood. Interestingly, it appears that there were two resolutions of the quest. Lord Granfen would claim he was innocent and we could let him go, much to Ivar's dismay, or murder him, because justice and stuff. Another quest pulled from the Crossroad Keep was forging an alliance with the Uthgardt Barbarians. This would have been another assassination quest given to us by Kralwalk of the Uthgardt Elk tribe. The man wants the current chieftain dead and asks us to kill Zokan Thunderer in his cell in Port Last. Ironically, Kralwalk wants his tribe to coexist peacefully with civilized peoples, but asks us to commit murder nevertheless. Curiously, it seems we could somehow break or bail Zokan out of prison, and he would then lead the Elk tribe to the Crossroad Keep. It's ironic yet again, because Zokan is the greater of two evils. Kana would report to us that, quote, his men are frustrated they cannot raid our passing merchant caravans, but he keeps them in line, making strong examples of any who disobey him. So, lawful evil barbarian maybe? Finally, there was a quest called Shoon the Lich, likely only available if you built the Mage Tower. The quest was definitely all about comic relief, as it contained many fecal jokes and references to relieving yourself. Starter wishes you to retrieve lost pages of the Tome of Iltkazar from Shoon, a lich who dwells somewhere beneath Neverwinter City. Starter said you would find the entrance to Shoon's dungeon in a container of decaying human waste in the Neverwinter Market District. This seems to take place in Act 3 though. In Act 2, we could visit the Privy near the Tomb of the Betrayers in the Merchant District and meet the Privy Man there. The Privy Man would warn us not to go into the Privy because it was haunted. Then he would go on to tell us a story about how a lich turned his sister into some kind of murderous undead, how he shot a brick and decapitated her when she came after him, and how he ended up standing vigil at the Privy. And no, I'm not making this shit up. Anyway, if we came back in Act 3, we'd find the Privy Man dead. Once we descended into the Privy Hall, Shoon would detect us. He'd reveal that he was the Mage King of Iltkazar and the author of the Tome of Iltkazar. He'd also mentioned that the book is cursed, and that only the missing pages are free from that curse. Apparently, Shoon was under the influence of Levistus, the Lord of the Fifth Hell, when writing the tome, and this was all part of Levistus' scheme to usurp Asmodeus, the Lord of the Ninth Hell. Somehow, the tome eventually led to the collapse of Iltkazar. In revenge, Shoon revealed Levistus' plan to Asmodeus, and Asmodeus rewarded Shoon with lichdom. You guys still with me? Anyway, the Shardbearer would get infected with a disease called Shoon's distemper, which the Lich notices and briefly considers letting the protagonist live so that he can spread it throughout Neverwinter. How we get rid of the disease and actually defeat Shoon? I have no idea. He does mention something about his phylactery not being there though. In case you don't know, a phylactery holds a Lich's soul, and he cannot be truly destroyed without destroying it. At any rate, after we've somehow defeated Shoon and recovered the lost pages of the Tome of Iltkazar, the item description would tell us that, quote, most of the pages contain detailed information of unicorn anatomy. enough said, I think. I guess we could say the party would go down the privy hole for shits and giggles. Speaking of the Tome of Iltkazar, while browsing the game files, I also stumbled upon something called a Threshold Compass, a rare Ilfarn artifact that was apparently the second thing needed to reach the Vale of Merdelain. It seems there was a cutscene in Act 3 where Kelgar would go to Aldanon to ask about Iron Fist clan history, but Sen would drop by and interrupt the conversation. Aldanon would explain how the Tome of Iltkazar can create a portal, but such a portal needs to be focused as well. Then, Kelgar would casually chime in and ask if a Threshold Compass is what we need. Obviously, it's a WTF moment for everyone, especially when Kelgar goes on to suggest that Clan Iron Fist probably has one and they use it for digging tunnels. There's a fun little note for the voice actor in the dialogue file. Apparently, Aldanon was supposed to be offended by the idea because it's like, quote, using Shakespeare's pen to write a grocery list. What is also worth noting is that the ritual of purification was originally much longer and would take place at 4 locations instead of 2. According to cut dialogue of the Gitzerai cleric whose name I won't even attempt to pronounce, we would have to go to, quote, Arvan in the Wood of Neverwinter, the Tower of Sight within the receding ocean of Deadman Mare, the Court of Tides along the coast, and the Unknown Ruins near West Harbor. What we know about these locations is that the Tower of Sight is where the Guardian of Ilfarn, who later turned into the King of Shadows, was devised. As for the Unknown Ruins near the West Harbor, I suppose they would have been something else than the low-effort ones in the final game. In a cut dialogue with Tarmas, the mage talks about an ancient Ilfarn port near West Harbor called Ilan Mier, the White Port. Tarmas would also share that studying these Ilfarn ruins is the real reason why he came to live in West Harbor. And as much as he seems to be an uptight asshole who disdains Harbormen, he thinks they are alright and found some peace living among them. The mage also mentions that he could not open some inner gate of those ruins and was delighted to hear that we managed to do so. Finally, let's address the game's canon ending. You know, rocks fall, everyone dies. Now, don't get your hopes up, there is no evidence of the ending being any less shitty earlier, but in the final game, Obsidian chose to keep it ambiguous on top of that. Before that, there was supposed to be a cutscene that showed the party trying to outrun a magic explosion and the resulting collapse of the temple after the King of Shadows was defeated. The voice files for that cutscene are still there, so let's hear them.
My, it's like a festival. Well, with more collapsing stones and very large ones too.
Bet that shadowy beast regrets messing with us now, eh?
Everyone, look! We need to go now!
Agreed. This place will not survive its master's passing. We must make haste.
Kalakcha, this part of the journey is done. Come, there is little time.
Move, Grobnar, move!
I am moving! Just not as fast as everyone else!
Keep running. We're
not going to make it.
And so this journey ends.
I don't believe it. The shadows, they're going away. It seems we have won, but at what cost? Aldanon is the Knight Captain.
I do not know. I do not know.
Come to think about it, it makes even more sense that all companions are present at the final fight, even though chances are half of them are rocking early game equipment. In my opinion, Obsidian didn't want to leave any loose ends originally, but they ultimately did. Maybe somebody thought at the last moment that killing off the entire party, including the player's favorite companions, and in such a meme of an ending at that, is not a good idea after all. Or maybe, just maybe, Obsidian ran out of time to implement the scene. Last but not least, I think the best way to end this part of this retrospective is to mention the cancelled Xbox 360 port of Neverwinter Nights 2. Yep, you heard right. The reason for swapping OpenGL with DirectX was compatibility with the console. However, later down the road, it turned out that Obsidian didn't have the funds to make the port happen. So why even waste resources like that? I guess this will remain a mystery, but I think Obsidian has always had bad management, making rookie mistakes despite being founded by ex-Black Isle people. Besides, Obsidian had already made a game for the PC and the Xbox just 2 years prior, Knights of the Old Republic 2. I don't know what was the deal there, but they bit off more than they could chew and then they choked on it. So, what do you think of the cut content I've talked about so far? Do you think Neverwinter Nights 2 could have realistically become a classic if things had turned out differently? Do share your thoughts down in the comments. If you want to help the channel grow, consider subscribing and giving the video a thumbs up as well. There is certainly more content like this coming up. In any case, I hope you enjoyed watching the video as much as I enjoyed making it for you. See you very soon in the next one.